This right next to me is the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 Series, and there's some big news. Toyota have officially axed the 4.5 litre V8 diesel, and this is due to emission regulations. So instead, this model is now only available with a 2.8 litre turbocharged diesel, which is in fact the same engine from a Toyota Hilux. So in this review, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the new 70 Series, well in this case this being the Wagon, the 76 Series. Let's start off with a brief overview about the 70 Series Land Cruiser. So it has a price range from around $75,000, climbing just past $83,000 before on-road costs, with an option between a 6-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual option, which will be available later this year. And it's also worth mentioning that the 70 Series is offered in a wide choice of variants. Firstly, the single cab variants, which are offered in Workmate, GX and GXL. And secondly, there's the double cab, which is offered in Workmate and GXL. And then thirdly, the troop carrier, which is also offered in model grades such as the Workmate and GXL. And finally, there's this 76 Wagon version, which is offered in both Workmate or this GXL specification. And for the 76 Wagon, it has a drive-away price of just over $75,000 and just over $79,000 for the GXL. Right, let's now move on to the design. So the colour of this example is finished off in graphite, and if you don't like that colour, there are 7 other external colours to pick from. So there's a lot of resemblance from the classic Land Cruiser models. And in regards to this facelift, we've also got manual headlight adjustment, as well as some modern touches like full LED headlights, LED DRLs, along with automatic high beam assist, Toyota spelt out opposed to a single badge, as well as a restyled front bumper bar. This is what that looks like on the GX, whereas on the GXL you've got this chrome piece, plastic up the top and full LED fog lights. And moving towards the side view of the Land Cruiser, it sits on 16-inch alloy wheels, and wrapped around the wheels themselves are these all-terrain tyres, and on the front wheels, auto-locking hubs. It also features a big plastic snorkel, and looking lower down, high-strength aluminium side steps, big large halogen bulbed indicators, and these large plastic fender flares. And moving towards the rear design of the Toyota Land Cruiser 76 Series. So from the back, it features halogen tail lights, and you've also got additional tail lights down the bottom. There's also a full-size spare tyre, and of course this being the GXL, it features a chrome bumper bar at the back. You've also got a metal step-up bar, and finally down the bottom, a towing kit. And in regards to towing capacity, all of those figures are on the screen now. Right, moving on to the cabin. So before you climb inside, you get a basic Toyota key that slots right into the ignition, as well as central locking for the doors. However, this being the GXL, you've got a remote key set up so you can lock and unlock the doors remotely. And opposed to having vinyl flooring and vinyl seats like what is featured on the Workmate, you get these grey fabric velour seats. And in addition to that, opposed to wind-up windows, you get electric windows and electric mirrors. But aside from that, it still pretty much feels like a Toyota from the 1990s. Just take the switchgear on the air conditioning controls, they feel very retro and sturdy. And in regards to build quality, on top of the doors, that is metal. You've also got this vinyl material. And when you look around on the dashboard, yeah, again, it is all durable hard plastic, even when you look towards the center. And even the center armrest is rock solid. The only soft section you get is on the elbow rests. And finally, you get a rubberized steering wheel that offers both manual, tilt and reach adjustment. And for both the front row seats, they also both offer manual adjustment. And if we move on to technology, it all runs off this 6.7-inch display, which is a touchscreen. And there are some shortcut buttons for the volume, home, as well as some buttons on the steering wheel. But it would be nice having a knob for the volume. And if I just run you through its key features, you've got AM and FM radio, along with Bluetooth, USB, no inbuilt satellite navigation, and the voice control doesn't really work that well unless if you do plug in your phone. But aside from that, that gives you the ability to use Siri integration, and this is what Apple CarPlay looks like on the system, so it works fairly well. But just keep in mind that both of them are wired and you need to plug it into this USB-A port. And new to this updated Land Cruiser, you get this retro styled analog gauge cluster that shows your battery voltage, temperature, fuel, oil pressure, your rev gauge and other key essential items. And on the right hand side, it shows you things like fuel consumption, your assistance menu and speed sign recognition. And this car also now features autonomous emergency braking, and up the top here is where the sensor is. as well as a reversing camera on this screen. And this is what that looks like. So no front and rear parking sensors. And as you can see, the camera is a little bit offset to the left-hand side, and lifted from the Toyota Hilux, you get a lane keeping assistant. You've also got anti-lock brakes, traction control, a driver and passenger airbag. And looking towards the right-hand side, you've got automatic lights along with a manual DPF burn switch, and as well as an idle up switch that allows you to keep a higher idle if you're starting up in cold climates. You've also got a manual handbrake down here, and even the four-wheel drive controls. You've got a gear selector for those functions. And in regards to off-road functions, you've got front and rear diff locks, which are only operational in four-wheel drive high range, along with a downhill assist control, second start and a power button, front and rear live axles, two-wheel drive high range and four-wheel drive high range that works on sealed surfaces, and a four-wheel drive low range that works on unsealed surfaces. And finally, storage. So on the right-hand side, a little storage slot there. And moving towards the passenger side, you've got a decent sized glove box that fits little owner's manual. You've got a storage section here and towards the center as well, and where you're going to charge your phone. So as part of the update, you get two USB-C charging ports, a small cup holder on the left hand side, and a spot here for a mobile phone along with another cup holder. You've also got some grab handles on each side, and finally center storage in the center that goes down really deep. Right, let's now move on to the back seat. So from what we can see, this front seat is set in my driving position, and I've got a decent amount of knee room. Headroom is plentiful, however toe room is impaired due to the placement of where the bolts are between the seat and the floor. And if I just move over to the middle section, as you can see, considering that this does have a flat floor, there is hardly any room for my feet, but aside from that, you still get good knee room and headroom is plentiful. And in regards to other key features, you can recline these seats backwards and forwards manually. And for middle passengers, they've also gotten rid of the lap facing seatbelt. So instead, Toyota has given middle passengers a much safer seatbelt setup. However, if you are buying this car for a family, just keep in mind there are no ISOFIX points or top tether points. And in regards to other key features, behind the front seats, there are these map pockets. And you've also got grab handles up the top here, two light switches, electric windows. But aside from that, there isn't that much to talk about because it is fairly basic, just like the front row. Right, moving on to storage at the back. So you've got this double opening door setup. This is the lever for the second door. And from what we can see, there is enough space for maybe 4 large suitcases or even 6. So overall it is pretty spacious and practical. And in addition to that, you've also got the ability to drop the second row down or fold it back up. And you've also got these solid, durable tie-down points, which there are 4 in total, as well as a step down the bottom here. You've also got the ability to open up the rear windows at the back, even on the left-hand side as well. Over on the door, you've got a latch to open it from the inside, a handle, and central locking. And on the right hand side is the location for the washer fluid. And when you open up this section on the left hand side, that reveals the spare jack and toolkit. But aside from that, there isn't really that much to show you. Well, aside from this being the GXL, it features carpet at the back and 2 additional speakers. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So gone is the old 4.5 litre turbocharged V8 that was also previously paired to a 5-speed manual transmission. And in its replacement is the same powertrain like what you would find in a Toyota Hilux. So it now features a 2.8 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine that is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission. And later this year, you can now opt for a manual transmission that will be paired to this 4-cylinder. You've also got 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive high range that works on sealed surfaces, along with 4-wheel drive low range that works on unsealed surfaces. And in terms of the off-road functions, you've got a front and rear live axle, along with front and rear diff locks, which you can only operate in 4-wheel drive high range, and that is standard on the 70 series, depending on the model grade you choose. And lastly, in regards to off-road specifications, all of those key figures are on the screen now, such as waiting depth, front and rear departure angles, and all the essential figures you need to know. So what is this new Land Cruiser like to drive? As you would expect with a car with leaf spring suspension and retaining the old ladder frame chassis and the 40-year-old design, combined with a cabin that feels like something from the 1990s, I think it's fair to say that this isn't the most refined Toyota you can buy. And as you can see with the camera footage, the ride is unsettled at lower speeds. The ride does even out at higher speeds, but again, it is noisy thanks to the boxy shape, and when you accelerate, The engine is a bit gruff, not as bad as the old 4.5 litre V8, but it's not the most refined thing to drive. But like I mentioned, this car was designed to do a purpose, and that was to be off-road capable on a long distance journey, and as well as being very reliable, lasting 20 to 30 years without any issues. And I think that is how the Toyota customers like their cars. However, in comparison to the pre-facelift Land Cruiser equipped with the 4.5 litre V8, this new 2.8 4-cylinder combined with the 6-speed makes the driving experience a lot more refined because it's easier to live with, especially driving around town, whereas the old 4.5, every time you went up a hill, you were driving around at low speeds, you always had to change gear, and that's great if you like being productive behind the wheel. But the biggest change is performance. It's definitely a lot more quicker in response compared with the old 4.5 litre V8, because when you put your foot down, it revs a lot higher and the torque and power is available much sooner. Whereas the old 4.5 litre V8 was very leery and lazy, and it was detuned, mind you. And when you put it into power, it makes the engine a lot more responsive. You can definitely feel the difference. But the biggest benefit, however, is fuel consumption. So the old 4.5 litre V8 used to drink through fuel, whereas Toyota claims this 4-cylinder variant has a claimed combined cycle of 9.6 litres per 100, and I've managed to achieve 11.5 litres with a mixture of town, country and freeway driving, and I think that is pretty good for the segment, considering that most dual cab utes achieve that figure anyway. So is it better than the pre-facelifted Land Cruiser? Well, yes, so you're getting more active safety, a better engine, and as well as some minor improvements. So in saying that, let's now wrap up with a verdict. So what is my final verdict on the new Toyota Land Cruiser? Well, paired with this 2.8 litre diesel and this 6-speed automatic, not only it is much more efficient than before, it's also just as powerful and off-road capable, and it still looks and feels like a classic Land Cruiser. But in saying that, the Land Cruiser serves as a purpose of being one of the most dependable vehicles on the road. So if you want all that, this is definitely the best option for you. But like always, let me know what you think of my verdict down below. And if you like this video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.